Let's bring in CTV News political commentator and former director of communications for one-time Liberal Prime Minister Paul Martin, Scott Reid, standing by. Hey, Scott, good to see you.
Hey, Todd.
All right, so what do you make of this story involving Pierre Poilievre, the Globe and Mail's reporting? What does it mean? What doesn't it mean?
Well, I don't really think it means that we should be questioning whether or not Pierre Poilievre won the leadership of the Conservative Party on the backs of Indian Prime Minister Modi interfering in some way. I don't think even the report suggests that. But what it does do is it brings up this issue of foreign interference in an uncomfortable way for Pierre Poilievre, because it allows his opponents to once again spotlight the fact that he alone among federal leaders has refused, has declined, has said no over and over again to getting his security clearance. That's what's required in order for them to be able to share with you, security agencies, be able to share with you Five Eyes intelligence and other secure briefings. And once again, we saw that issue was put to Mr. Poilievre. Once again, his excuse was that, well, this is just something that the Liberals can use to muzzle him, in effect. So it's an awkward, uncomfortable, and unwelcome development for him.
How about Mark Carney not taking part in the second French language debate in Quebec? I mean, that's a province that is crucial to any hope he has of winning this.
Yeah, a tough one for him, right? You know, so on the one hand, there's real momentum in the province of Quebec, and you know better than I how important TVA is in terms of coverage across the province of Quebec. And for English, listeners across the rest of the country, they may think, well, somebody blows off the debate. But the truth of the matter is that platform, that profile in Quebec, is qualitatively different than the rest of the country. That being said, he's ahead in the polls. He doesn't want to have to debate twice in French. That would probably mean he'd have to debate again in English. So then you'd have 4 debates in a short campaign. And let's be candid, his French is not the best. So does he really want to tangle for 2 hours at a time, not once but twice, in the province of Quebec with the likes of Blanchette and Poilievre? And Poilievre's very comfortable in French, and sing for that matter. So I think this is a tough choice, but one that they decided the road of less risk was to say no.
How about the NDP and some of the polling numbers showing that they could be in big trouble, my friend? What do you think? What's going on with the NDP right now?
Oh, everything's shaping up to make it very, very difficult for Jagmeet Singh. First of all, let's be honest, his personal approval has taken a real beating. Over the course of the last couple of years, his confidence supply agreement that the NDP struck with Liberals, they can claim, the NDP, well, that helped us to deliver on big signature legislative programs like pharmacare and dental care, but it really bruised his standing and his popular support in the country. Then, of course, you have a national debate that's taking place about Trump and tariffs and trade, and that drives people to a real binary choice. Who do we want facing down against Donald Trump, Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney? It's a question that forces you to think about the prime minister, not the other party leaders. So how do the NDP force their way into this debate? And then the specter of Trump and the specter of Poilievre among many voters, natural New Democratic voters, scares them. And that forces them toward the Liberals. And you're seeing that vote move. And in fact, the moment that Justin Trudeau stepped off the stage, you saw those NDP voters start to migrate toward the Liberals in large numbers. And you take a place like downtown Toronto or a place like British Columbia, where there's often 3-way fights, that's a disaster area for the NDP. They're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for the seats they hold. They won't keep all of them. They might well be running at single digits before the week is out.
How much of a wild card will Donald Trump be? We continue to monitor the White House for any and all comments he makes about the Canadian election campaign. But, the impact or not you think that might have on this race over the next 4 weeks?
I don't think, if we're being honest, you can even characterize him as a wild card. He's actually every face card in the deck. The reality is that this race has been reshaped and this election has been reshaped around the question of Donald Trump. What is our relationship with the United States? What do we do economically and in terms of our own fundamental sovereignty as a nation when we're confronted with a hostile president of the United States? And, the question is going to arise in just a couple of days. on April 2nd, if not before, Trump is going to start talking about where he will and where he will not place tariffs on Canada. He's going to place tariffs on other countries. He's going to talk about exemptions. He's going to unleash days and days of potential negotiations and exemptions and compromises and process. All of this will keep this issue front and center. All of this will force Canadians to think about who do they trust most to take on Trump. And if you're having a debate over what the ballot question is, you can debate no longer. It is going to be Donald Trump and his tariffs.
Scott Reid, political commentator for us here at CTV, and he served as a communications advisor to then Prime Minister Paul Martin. Thanks for this. We'll talk again.
Thanks, Todd. Take care.